feel like it's an interview. Okay. So before I start, I just want to say I've got notes in front of me. I wrote everything down so I make sure I cover what I actually want to say and I don't drift off in my thoughts. This really matters to me, so excuse the notes. I get asked a lot how I work and why I'm so focused on whole food, walking and strength. And I can't explain that without explaining my own story properly, because this didn't come from a qualification or a trend, it came from my life. I grew up in Latvia. Food there was very simple and very normal. My parents cooked everything. We had a garden, we grew vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, lettuces, pumpkins, cabbages, berries, apples, you name it. Sauerkraut, kefir, cottage cheese, soups, that was just everyday food. It wasn't a trend. We didn't have takeaways. We didn't have ultra-processed food everywhere. People just didn't buy it. I didn't grow up thinking about nutrition or health because real food was just the default. Everything changed when I moved to the UK at 19. Suddenly I had to feed myself and I was dropped into a completely different food environment. Takeaways everywhere. Supermarkets full of things marketed as healthy, organic, high protein. And I worked for a fast food company while I was at university. So that food was around me all the time. Something said healthy on a packet, I bought it. If something said organic, I trusted it. I assumed if it was sold as healthy, it must be healthy. And around that time, I was diagnosed with PCOS and put on hormonal medication. Whether that diagnosis was wrong or not, I don't really know. What I do know is that combined with the way I was eating, my weight went up very quickly. I gained about 15 kilograms within a few months without changing how much I ate. I stayed overweight for a couple of years. I wasn't happy, uncomfortable. And I don't have many photos from that period because I didn't like myself at all. And that's when I started paying attention to food properly, not to diet, but to understand what was actually going on. I removed a lot of ultra-processed stuff. I still ate bread and croissants, but the base of my diet became whole food again. And that's when my weight started to come down. I later met my husband. I was okay, but I wasn't fit or strong, more skinny fat than anything. And then I got pregnant with my first child in 2018. And after she was born, I was about 20 kilograms heavier than my usual weight. I lost that weight over 12 months, mostly through walking and eating mostly whole food. I walked a lot, around 10 kilometers a day with the pram most days. Walking wasn't fitness for me then, it was my escape. It helped my mental health massively, especially with my family being far away and my husband working extra long shifts. But even though the weight came down, I was hungry all the time. I relied heavily on bread, toast, sauces, condiments, probably an 80-20 approach, what people call it. Mostly whole food, but the 20% mattered. I lost muscle. I was breastfeeding. I was tired, weak and skinny fat again. And after my second pregnancy, I dropped the weight much quicker, but I became very weak. And this is when my shoulder inflammation, shoulder tendinitis became a real problem. I've had that for several years, but it got so much worse. And everyday things hurt, like I couldn't do my own bra, I couldn't put my dressing gown on a hook. I just felt really fragile in my body. So that's another inflammation and something I live with. And I've started noticing how certain foods made my pain worse, my energy worse, and my recovery worse. I've spent years learning about whole foods and nutrition, looking into studies, books, courses. That was a turning point for me. And then strength training came in, probably around then too. So I've started with 2, sometimes 3 sessions a week, and that changed everything. My body composition has changed because I built muscle, and muscle is heavier than fat, so my weight didn't drop dramatically, but my body changed completely. I felt strong, capable, less inflamed, more confident. And around this time, my dad died at the age of 56. Losing him in 2023 changed how I look at life completely. It made time feel very real, and it made me realize that I didn't want to spend my life doing work that didn't feel meaningful to me. I worked in the same corporate job for about 10 years as a commercial analyst, so spreadsheets, data, forecasts, it paid the bills, and I loved the spreadsheets, but it hadn't felt right for a long time. And after my dad died, I kept feeling this pull to do something that actually mattered, something meaningful, something that I could be proud of, and something that he would have been proud of. So the only thing that kept coming back to me was nutrition, movement, and health, because it had changed my life so deeply. So I decided to do a PT qualification as well. And that's why I coach the way I do. At the core of my work is whole food, walking, and strength. Not for aesthetics, oh God, not for that, not for pretty looks, but for energy, metabolism, hormones, confidence, and feeling capable just in normal everyday life to be a good mum, to be an active mum, to be able to walk around with my kids, to carry both of them if I needed to do a piggyback, simple things, or walking up and down the stairs, carry my own suitcase. That's what I train for. I mean, who doesn't want to be a cool mum? You don't want to be feeling old in your 40s, do you? I think life only just begins. And I don't want to feel old when I'm 45 or 48 or 50. I don't want to feel old when I'm 60. So food either supports us or slowly breaks us. And in a world of very clever marketing, it's incredibly easy to be misled. You see cereals shouting protein, but when you look closer, one recommended portion gives you very little protein for the amount of calories that you get. It spikes your energy, then it drops it, and you're hungry again. It's just the way that ultra-processed food is designed, and it keeps you underfueled. So the way my coaching works is that everyone I work with starts with the same solid foundation. It's a blueprint that I have created that covers food, strength training basics, walking, recovery, habits, and mindset. From there, I personalize everything around you: your work, your family life, stress, energy levels, and what's realistically doable. We don't change everything at once. Instead, we set some goals for the initial weeks and review as we go. And food-wise, I don't do rigid meal plans or calorie targets. I work hands-on. I give you guidance on how to balance your meals for your goals and the level of activity. Because we don't count calories, you send me photos of what you're actually eating and I review them daily. I look at things like whether your meals are keeping you full, whether you have enough protein and fiber, which are often the missing pieces. I look at your energy throughout the day, cravings, and how food fits into your life and into your family's life. If something isn't working, we adjust it. And the goal isn't to eat less, it's to eat in a way that supports muscle, hormones, and long-term health. Weight loss does require calorie deficit, and I'm very honest about it. My approach differs is how that deficit is created. We build 3 proper meals that keep you full between meals, so snacking drops away naturally. Intake comes down without you feeling hungry or exhausted all the time. And strength training is a key part of my approach. Muscle matters, especially in our 30s and onwards, for metabolism, bone density, general health, and confidence. Training starts very simple. It can be done at home. Just 2 sessions a week is enough when it's consistent. Walking is non-negotiable. I run a free walking club and I see firsthand how powerful it is. I meet people every week who tell me how walking has changed their mood, their health, their life, and their relationship with food. This morning I spoke to a GP on one of my walks, and she told me how many people now come asking for weight loss medication when they only need to lose a few kilograms without wanting to change how they eat and live. That pressure on the NHS is huge, and the alternative is longer queues at A&E, chest pains, diabetes, preventable problems. That's why sustainable habits really matter. Fixing the basics matters. I'm not about short-term fixes. My work is all about sustainable habits that you can keep for life. I work very closely with my clients, and I only work with people who are willing to engage in the process. It doesn't have to be perfect, just open and committed. My aim is that by the end of my coaching, you feel confident enough to carry on by yourself without relying on me for the rest of your life, unless your goals change, of course. I want health to feel normal, grounded, and sustainable. And that's why I do things this way.